Hello friends, and welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Y'all, oh my word, I don't know about you, but mid-August in North Carolina is rough. We are over the heat and the humidity. But there's always a bright spot. This morning I drove past these entrance beds that are shade gardens, and oh my gosh, they are looking fantastic. And I thought to myself, if these gardens look this amazing after all the heat, the humidity, the crazy rain that we've had, and all the weather that has been of 2026, then I need to come through here and really evaluate and see what plants are absolutely thriving and making this garden so gorgeous. So that is what we are going to do today. We are going to look at the flowers, the foliage, the structure, and then what things I want to add or change for next year. So if you were tired of the crazy heat and the humidity where you are, just like me, come and join me, and we're going to explore this garden, because these gardens do not have to be dead and boring and ugly, and even in the middle of August. We are going to focus on these two shade gardens as you enter into the garden center and Creekside Nursery. Basically, the fence divides the entrance bed to the woodland shade garden. And again, they're just looking great. We have got such fun interest in this bed. You've been with me in this bed so many different times. This garden, y'all, she has evolved. We have had to do lots of edits. We have had to do lots of tweaking in this space to finally, quote, get it right. And so I want to share those things with you. So, the Golden Shadows Pagoda Dogwood. So this is from Proven Winner Color Choice Shrubs. And my friends, I know I hate to kind of quote show it to you, but she is an absolute beauty, but she is very, very hard to find. And so the Golden Shadows, she's losing just a little bit of her variegation here in the late August. But this is such a cool structure for my garden because Golden Shadows is more horizontal than it is vertical. Now she is getting some height to her, but you can see that her structure, those limbs basically just go straight out horizontally. Does bloom in the spring, and she's beautiful. Every time I have a couple of customers that they're like, if you ever see a Golden Shadows available, please grab it for me, and I would. They are just such great shade loving trees. So this is giving me a beautiful structure in here. And then we have got, y'all, even rocks will give you structure, right? So this rock was massive. We brought it back from the pond area years ago and put it in here, and it just kind of, quote, literally anchors the bed. And so it's really fun, and we can come in and we can plant around it. Mimi has had so much fun bringing in some little ground covers for me. So you have got that low growing foliage. I think it's called green and gold. It'll do these really sweet little yellow flowers in the spring. She knows that she can come in here and give me that at any point. And then the Brunnera. So we've got some Brunnera in here that Mimi and I planted. And y'all, I'm all about messes and successes. This one is looking great, and you can see it's actually putting on some little tiny blue flowers. They're spring bloomers, so I guess she's just a little bit confused. It's fine. But while this one is doing well, it was a quart size and she's putting on new growth. You can look over and see, yeah, we had a couple that did not make it in the heat and the humidity. So they just petered out in the past couple of days. And so what I will do is, because I am all about, let's just go ahead and try it. Let's just see how things do. So I will come back and replant those when temperatures kind of even out a little bit, because I think it would be so pretty. And it was really, really pretty to have that Brunnera underneath the Golden Shadows. So we're going to redo it. We're going to try it again. I say we try to kill plants a couple of times before we give up on it. So we're definitely going to do that as well. Now, some beautiful structure that has done so well in here are the aspidistra, the cast iron plants. These were new additions that we put in this spring. Y'all, they are loving this area. Cast iron plants are known for being drought tolerant. They want the shade. They don't want a lot of water. They are no fuss plants. And my goodness, they have just thrived in this space. So I could not be happier with this aspidistra. And yeah, so if there's going to be areas that I can add some more, I will most definitely do that. So these give me year-round structure as well. And some other great structure that's going to be seasonal will be my hostas. So we have got the Sum and Substance, which is kind of that chartreuse look to it. And y'all, if your hostas look like mine do in the mid-August, it is okay. This is when they're going to start looking a little rough. Maybe the edges are tattered. Maybe they got a little burn on them. No worries, because these are going to, of course, completely die back in the wintertime, and they will come back in the spring beautiful and fresh. And then Elegans hosta. Y'all, this thing is massive. I don't know if you can really get the scale of this. It is absolutely 5 feet across. And Elegans is known because it's a blue hosta. Again, here in August, she's turning a little bit yellow. She's not quite as blue as she was in the spring. Huge corrugated leaves. If you have deer or rabbit pressure, the corrugated leaves tend to be more resistant. Now, I know if an animal is hungry, it'll eat anything, but this Elegans is absolutely gorgeous. She gives me beautiful structure in here as well. And then the flowers. Of course, we have got the Surefire White Begonia. Love this begonia, and we repeated that throughout the garden in multiple areas. So you've got the Surefire White behind the Elegans. We've got it behind the Hydrangeas right here, kind of tucked in there, because they'll do sun or shade. They'll get some good height to them, right? So they'll get to be in that 2.5 feet tall. And then, of course, we filled in the urns at the gate. And so they are just absolutely rocking it out and gorgeous in here. So I love the fact that these Surefire White Begonias have filled in these urns. They can handle the weird sun, especially this one, because it'll get some intense hot afternoon sun for a couple of hours, and then it's in complete shade. Does not care. It is just hanging in there and rocking out life and doing great. And so they make a nice presence, a nice display of flowers as you come through the fence. More flowers, of course, we talk about the hydrangeas. How beautiful are these hydrangeas? These are the Let's Dance Lovables, reblooming Macrophylla hydrangea from Proven Winners. So you can see that they gave me a beautiful display of summer flowers, and these were pink, so they will be pH dependent. So this soil is leaning a little more alkaline, and so we are getting those pink. They've aged just a beautiful mauve color, and it is reblooming. Look, we have a new bud popping up here, and there is one back there. So there's 3 of them right here kind of together, and just bringing in that beautiful antique fallish color that is just, it helps this bed transition really well into the fall moments, and it's absolutely gorgeous. So love this bed and those antique colors that the hydrangeas are bringing us. So the flowers mainly in this bed, the hydrangeas, the Surefire Whites, and then we got a little pop of blue, because you got to have a little blue in here, and I do love this plant. This is my one annual that I will forever put into a shade garden every single year. This is the Endless Illumination Broalia, a very no-fuss plant, does those nice kind of star-shaped, you might want to call them purple, blue flower, nice mounded habit to them. And yeah, so there you go. Absolutely gorgeous. The Annabelle hydrangeas, classic Annabelles. right here along the fence. They were, you know, big and beautiful, nice white, and of course they age to this lovely lime green. And yes, in the fall, I love that lime green as opposed to the pure white, because I've got my pure white in the Surefire white begonias. So the hydrangeas are giving me that antique-y fall, let's move into that kind of season of life. As far as foliage goes, we've got the weigela here. So the weigela is giving us a nice kind of variegated look. We've got some green. The new foliage is that nice dark near black. If this was more in a sunnier location, then it would probably be near black on it as well. But that's okay. I don't mind that we're showing a little bit of green here. And then you've got the euonymus right here that gives us that not only the structure, because this is evergreen, but it also gives us that variegated foliage. Beautiful, nice, kind of almost like a blue-green with that creamy edge. So it fulfills those two roles, the year-round structure and the foliage, and then the Japanese maple behind it with that nice dark lacy foliage to it. Again, you got structure, you got foliage, you got texture, all of those things working together in here. Layering, so we're working up with the height of the trees and kind of moving down with the begonias and the hydrangeas. And then the low growing here in the front, we've got our Heucheras. Been really, really happy with these Heucheras in this bed. Heucheras in the South can be very challenging, shall we say, to find that sweet spot, because we do have, where we are especially, like that thick red clay soil. And so the clay is great because it will retain moisture really, really well. But it can be problematic for the Heucheras because typically they like to have more of dry feet and or really well draining soil. And so with the Heucheras, finding those that do well in the landscape and that can handle the heat and the humidity, because y'all, the humidity that is what is, quote, killing us right now here in mid-August, because like for the past couple of days, our temperatures have been in the upper 90s. We've been at 100% humidity with the dew point like in the 70s. So when I say it is like thick and oppressive, it is. I really think that's what happened to the Brunnera and probably why they succumbed, because it was just too much for them. But these Heucheras have that Velosa breeding in them. And the reason I keep talking about Heucheras and Velosa breeding is because the Velosa Heucheras are a native Heuchera to the southeast. Like, we have wild Heucheras growing on our creek bank. They can handle the heat and humidity. So when I see a Heuchera that has that Velosa breeding in it, I know that it can handle our heat and humidity. Not all Heucheras have that. So if a Heuchera does not have that Velosa gene in there, typically they will really start to struggle this time of year. So if you're in the South or somewhere in that's really sticky and hot and your Heucheras in the landscape especially are struggling, just do a Google search. If you know the name of it, like for example, my Southern Comfort. Southern Comfort, as its name suggests, would imply that it has really good, strong Velosa genes in it, and it does. It will get nice and big, and y'all, this thing has absolutely thrived right here. So if you're not sure if you have the Velosa breeding, like this is the Georgia plum. So you would just do a Google search. Does Georgia plum Heuchera have the Velosa breeding in it? And it will tell you yes or no. But given the name of Georgia plum, and then we've got Georgia peach right here, I mean, it kind of tells you that it's going to do well in the South, right? It's not like it's New York peach or New York plum. This is Georgia. Heaven knows Georgia has probably even worse heat and humidity than I do. And so just by the name alone, it implies that it is going to do really well. And they have, look at that beautiful new growth on it. Oh, absolutely fantastic. And the great thing about the Heucheras is that they're going to be evergreen. So even in the winter, I still have this structure, quote, ground cover, and then the two ribbon falls. Ribbon falls carex. It's not a monkey grass. It may look like a monkey grass or remind you of that, lyrope. It's not. It is a carex. and another evergreen shade-loving grass, and I've got 2 of them on each side of the hydrangea, kind of tucked in right there. Beautiful structure, completely different, right? So it has that kind of that weeping, soft effect to it. I've got my hydrangeas that are very upright with those bigger leaves on it. I have got my Heucheras with the different color, kind of those nice big fat leaves on it, and then I come in with a completely different shape and structure and leaf to it with that Ribbon Falls carex, and it just absolutely works wonderful. And then while I don't have flowers on it, at the base of the sign, of course, I planted some coleus, and it is that really beautiful, deep, rich burgundy. So we've got all of that kind of color in there, but it's not, there's not flowers. So you don't have to have flowers in order to give your garden beautiful color and structure. And so that coleus is the perfect example of it, as is the everillo grass. If you can see it, it's down there. And so we added a couple of, the new ones are a little slow to come. It's all right. The older ones are nice and big and are just going to continue to get nice and big and grow and do great. So when we're designing and we're looking at our gardens, especially shade gardens, for me, there's just something that's easier about a shade garden to layer in the different textures. I don't know what it is. It just is for me, because you don't have, I don't know, it's something in my brain that says I can be a little bit more random in a shade garden, because I think of like the woods and the forest, and there's not a lot of like complete repetition of a plant like there, you know, and so you can put little onesies and twosies in here and dot those things. We're repeating them through the garden to bring consistency to the garden, but it doesn't have to be matchy-matchy, right? This is not like the front of my house where I want all like to flow with all the boxwoods going across. This just is a little bit more free form for me, and this is where in my brain I can get a little bit more creative. I don't know, but it seems to be working. I am so happy with this garden. As always, I like to have a full disclosure. Both of these gardens are on drip irrigation. So we have got the drip line running through these gardens, and they run every day for about 15 minutes. That has helped tremendously, because we have very mature oak trees, maple trees, all sorts of trees in here. And especially in this bed, as we come across into the woodland garden, this is where I have the most tree root competition. And so having the irrigation in here has been an absolute game changer. Not saying that you have to have your shade garden on irrigation, but if you can, obviously it will help. And so that has made a huge difference, because these trees, especially in the heat of the summer, they will suck out every ounce of moisture in the ground. So again, I just like to give you full disclosure. This is Ruby Slipper's oak leaf hydrangea, a more petite one. She's still going to get some height to her. And y'all, if your hydrangeas, maybe whatever they kind of be, maybe they are oak leaf, maybe they're going to be the macrophylla, maybe they're going to be like a smooth hydrangea. If my blooms have turned brown at this time of the year, I don't blame them. The foliage is looking amazing. And the great thing about your oak leaf hydrangeas is they are going to give us unbelievable fall foliage color. These leaves are going to turn the most beautiful, deep, rich burgundy. So yes, it's okay that my flowers have turned brown. Does not bother me. I feel like some days I am turning brown and crispy. And so if my hydrangeas are doing it, it's okay. They do start out a lovely kind of a creamy white. We've actually got a new little itty bitty tiny little bloom right here, and take on a cooler pink hue to it. If you are in the cooler zones, then yours are going to turn that beautiful red. With our heat and humidity, it just is not happening. So this gives me really fun structure through here. In the back, this is where I have camellias. I have all sorts of different types of camellias. I've got japonicas, I've got sasanquas, because I want to have those flowers throughout the different seasons and months in the wintertime. So this is a sasanqua, and you can see that we've got some little buds on it already. So all of my camellias are more towards the back because they definitely do like those shadier conditions, and they are all doing really well. Again, putting in those hostas. Give me those nice big hostas with those, I believe this is Diamond Lake here in the back, and you can see we've actually got 3 of them tucked in here. And because of the tree root competition, I make sure that we plant them on the drip line. So if you're dealing with a lot of root competition and you have drip irrigation, you could do it a couple of different ways. You could lay the drip line down first and then plant, and try to plant those plants really close to the drip line, or you can plant first and then add the drip line. We did the initial planting was we planted first and then added the drip. Well, of course, that was a couple of years ago, and some plants die. You're going to add new plants. So in this bed, though, specifically, I really try to make sure that every plant is on irrigation, because I'm going to show you here in a minute. You can really tell which ones are not on irrigation. So to give me that interest year round with this kind of competition from the tree roots, the irrigation really does make a huge difference. Right now in this bed, I have got a lot of structure and I have got color, and that color is coming from my foliage, not necessarily my flowers. So like the mini-me chartreuse coleus, this is a great way to add pops of color to your shade or sun garden, because it can do either one, but mirroring that chartreuse with the coleus, and then more of that Everillo carex back there. We've got the feather falls. Carexes are great for year-round structure in your shade garden. They do such a great job. And it may seem weird, but in this shade garden, we do have some perennial sedums. Sedums, of course, do love those really intense sun areas. And the reason that we put it here is because this corner does get hot afternoon direct sun. As you can see, some of the plants are struggling and some of them are doing great. So this was a test. We had some that we needed to put in the ground. So we said, well, let's just try them right here. And there you go. The hostas throughout are getting me color and interest. We try to put them in like multiple groups, so that way they make a bigger impact and they don't get, quote, lost in the flower bed. Now what we do have here are, as far as our flowers go, are begonias. Y'all, begonias in the shade garden are unbelievable. So whether you want to do the surefire begonias, we can do sun or shade, or you want to do like the Viking XL begonias that'll get nice and big, you can do that. These were not planted early in the season. These were planted in late June. And Mimi came through here and planted them for me. And again, doing them in mass groups. And again, for the end of August, middle of August in North Carolina, I am very happy with how they're doing. And then see that coleus? See how it just jumps out at you? Not one flower on it, but it gives me texture and foliage and that interest in the garden. We've talked about it many times before. Do not be afraid to add containers directly to the landscape. Here we have a unique stone urn. So this urn obviously is a great way to give me year-round interest, right? So just because the winter comes does not mean that the container goes away. No, no, no. And in fact, we planted it with perennials and a shrub that will be evergreen. So even in the wintertime, I am going to have the structure and the interest of this container. So we've got the High Five Green Fingers Fatsia. We have got a Heuchera, and then of course, you know it, my beloved Everillo carex in here as well. Aspidistra dotted throughout the back, the cast iron plants. Structure, evergreen, love it. deer resistant. And then what's not really showing right now, because this is not their time to shine, is also throughout the back of the garden in those shadier areas. One, we have got some epimedium. Epimedium is a great evergreen perennial, drought tolerant, and it will be more like deer resistant, rabbit resistant. It is great because in the spring it does really sweet little flowers, but for the rest of the year it just gives me some interest, nice low growing. And then of course the hellebores, the Lenten roses. Again, not their time to shine. They will shine in late winter, anywhere from January through March typically is when they will be blooming. And I have got them all throughout here in the gardens. But just having fun with the color and the texture. My Florida Sunshine Elysium, that is going to give me that year-round interest, that chartreuse color. The hostas again, repeating those hostas. This is autumn frost, right? So nice, low growing. We've got them in a mass clump right here with more begonias dotted throughout and the broalias. So you can see right here, we've got, it's kind of interesting. And you know what? It is what it is, my friends. So Mimi had planted the broalia. There's an irrigation line right here. Well, you can see that we've got some holes. We lost some. It's fine. I'm not worried about it. It does not bother me. So they succumbed to the heat and the humidity for whatever reason. I don't know why. It just is what it is sometimes, my friends. And so even though it's not, quote, perfect, because remember, perfection is only found in the dictionary, they still look amazing and coming through again, color, interest, structure in that shade garden, putting those shrubs in the back. So whether it is camellias or it is the Edgeworthia that's right there, that's nice and big, more carexes, more hostas, more begonias, and repeating that throughout this space. So then my question is, okay, so what am I going to add or what am I going to change for next year? So honestly, up in the sign bed, I am really happy with it. We're going to maintain that. Now, obviously, my annuals, they're not going to come back next year. They are annuals. That is the whole point, right? So they last for one season and then they're done. So next year, we will have to add them again. That's okay. My other shrubs and my perennials, my trees, they are just doing phenomenal. So my area for my annuals is shrinking. I don't care. It is fine. So I will replace the Brunnera that I lost. I will replace that probably in like September, October, enough time for those roots to get established, but that will overwinter really well. And then next year, oh, I am so doing begonias again. I am doing begonias again in the urns. Now, I will probably switch it up and I will do a different color just because, right, we want to keep things a little fresh. But those urns have turned out so incredibly well that I absolutely love them. So we will definitely do those again. I will definitely put more begonias into that shade garden because it just looks phenomenal. Coming over here to the woodland garden, I love the mini-me chartreuse because it pops out. The thing that I would change is let's plant it earlier. Let's not wait so late into the season. Let's plant them earlier, and I'm going to put probably even more begonias in here because we're going to be adding some begonias to the Creekside Champions line. So I'm going to incorporate those into the garden. Oh, here comes Mimi. Oh, that's Poppy. Poppy and Rosie. Oh, Lord. Hey, Rosebud. Hi. I don't know if you can hear Brenna, but she's not very happy about that. She's sitting with Emily on the front porch, and it drives her crazy that Rosie can come through and she can't go play with her. Not only will we be adding more begonias, different colors of begonias, but I do want to add some more aspidistra. Aspidistra is such a great structure plant, and I want to come along more along the fence line and add those in there. We have got some beautiful spectacular aspidistra, which is a nice speckled, brings a little bit of different kind of color and texture to this space. So we're absolutely going to be adding that as well. And don't ever underestimate, y'all, the fence. The fence gives me structure as well. Don't think that, don't think of the fence or if you have a privacy fence, don't think of that as a negative. Think of that as an asset, right? So let's say I had this fence and that was in the full sun like it is in the berm. Use this to put some plants that like to climb, right? You've got an instant trellis, and so use that to your advantage because that does give you structure, year-round structure in your garden. So that's great and it's beneficial. Even the tree trunks, that gives me structure, vertical structure in the garden. So I'm not trying to add a ton of height to this garden, more of those layers. Over time, my camellias will fill in and get some height to them. I don't know, 5 to 6 feet tall. And so that'll kind of fill in the gaps because remember, gardening teaches you patience. And these 2 beds have definitely taught me patience because this has not been an overnight success. Oh no, especially the sign bed. We have been working on that sign bed for years and years and years. It has been a labor of love for Mimi and I. And like I said, I think we finally have found the sweet spot and finding plants that are thriving because not only was it trying to find the plants that thrived, but also the trees are growing and getting bigger, so my shade is increasing. So I am embracing that and having fun with it for sure. Gardens do teach us patience, and it is over time that we will refine our gardens. Gardens are never completed because they are always changing. There's always situations that give us opportunities, whether it is weather, animals, bugs, feast, famine, disease, you know, whatever it is. There's always going to be something that is changing in the garden, and just embracing that and knowing that the one thing that's going to be constant in your garden is going to be change. Things are going to change, opportunities are going to arise. And so it's our attitude, how we approach that is what makes a difference. But you absolutely can have a beautiful, lush garden, even in the crazy heat and the humidity that we have been experiencing here in the Southeast this year. And I know we are not alone. I know the other parts of the country have just been absolutely hit with all sorts of crazy weather. And so as kind of hard as it may be, sometimes plants are a lot more resilient than we give them credit for. So I hope that this is kind of giving you some inspiration, because right now, this is the time of year where my inspiration is like at an all-time low. I told Jerry, I was like, I have absolutely very little desire to get out and garden right now because it is just so disgustingly nasty out here. And so to have these plants, putting in all of that work ahead of time and just letting them do their thing, which is kind of what I'm doing with all my gardens right now, y'all. There are messes and successes everywhere. And I know that there is grace in gardening, and when the temperatures come back to normal, then I will get out there and deal with it. But for right now, I'm gonna enjoy the gardens from the inside of the air conditioning and plan and think of the fall, because once that cooler temperature hits, man, I am gonna hit the ground running and tweak some things, add a ton of plants to different parts of the gardens, of course, creating some new gardens. But for now, we're just gonna sit back, evaluate the gardens, and see what kind of tweaks we want to make in the future. As always, we hope you have found it fun, informative, and inspirational. Y'all have an amazing day. I will see you in the next video. Bye, friends.